Welcome to Mobility Now, a show presented by the Houston-Galveston Area Council. I'm your host, Alan Clark, H-GAC's Director of Transportation. The Houston-Galveston Area Council has been designated the transportation planning agency for the 8-county region. As part of its activities, H-GAC conducts studies to identify opportunities to reduce traffic congestion, crashes, and vehicle delay on our freeways and major thoroughfares. Building bigger freeways and thoroughfares is not only expensive, it is not always a desirable option because of the potential impact on adjacent neighborhoods and businesses. During today's program, we'll discuss how to make our most congested roadways operate better without adding travel lanes. We'll focus on one of the state's most congested freeways, the Southwest Freeway, also known as US 59, Interstate 69. Let's get started with a short video describing the Southwest Freeway congestion mitigation study.
The Southwest Freeway is an interstate highway that moves large amounts of traffic and freight to, within, and through our metropolitan area. 300,000 vehicles utilize the corridor inside Beltway 8 on any given weekday. During peak hours, or in case of a vehicle collision or breakdown, traffic can slow or stop abruptly, causing significant delay for thousands of commuters. The Southwest Freeway is the third most congested roadway in Texas. It takes 30 minutes to clear most vehicle crashes and often several hours to restore traffic to normal conditions. The Houston-Galveston Area Council, TxDOT, and other partners are exploring ways to improve safety, mobility, and mitigate congestion on the Southwest Freeway. The study focuses on a 14-mile corridor going from Beltway 8 to I-45 near downtown. The objective of this study is to determine the potential benefit from lower cost investments and operating strategies such as ramp modifications, interchange redesign, high occupancy vehicle and high occupancy toll lane improvements, quicker incident management response, peak time pricing, rerouting information techniques, and increased use of alternative transportation modes. The Houston-Galveston Area Council team has been collecting data to better understand how the freeway operates. Information includes crashes, speed, number of vehicles, incidents, traffic delays, as well as public feedback on bottlenecks and safety problems. This data is being used in sophisticated travel modeling to simulate current and future traffic conditions. The H-GAC team will identify the most effective strategies for near-term implementation. Strategies will be evaluated for their costs and benefits. Some of these add ramp capacity through the 610 loop interchange, HOV and HOT lane configuration and access control, ramp closure and consolidation, among others. The toolbox of management strategies also includes travel speed advisories that vary based on real-time congestion, quicker incident detection and clearance, dynamic rerouting information, other traveler information, and increased bus, vanpool, and carpool incentives. Reducing congestion on the Southwest Freeway will result in a more reliable commute for corridor users. Visit the study website and send us your comments to the address on the screen.
Today, we're in the Harris County Emergency Operations Center, a new facility located at Houston TransStar. And with me is my first guest, David Fink. David is the Director of Transportation Systems for the Texas Department of Transportation Houston District. David currently serves on the US 59 I-69 Congestion Management Study Steering Committee. David, welcome to Mobility Now.
Thank you, Alan.
David, I think most of our viewers know that TxDOT has a major responsibility for the construction and maintenance of our freeway system and many of our major thoroughfares. However, I don't know if they understand that TxDOT's responsible for operating these facilities or even what that means. We're here at TransStar in part because this is the traffic operations center for our area. You work here every day. Can you tell us a little bit about what happens here at TransStar, what information you're getting, and how you actually operate the freeway highway system?
Well, I guess operations is probably the most important part of making a freeway system and a roadway network work smoothly. Here at TxDOT, we have cameras located on the freeway so we can monitor traffic. We also have sensors out there so we can measure traffic speeds and volumes and travel times so we can tell if a freeway is acting normally or is it being disrupted by an accident, road debris. Weather can even disrupt it, but we have historical information so we can look at stuff like that.
Well, when you see something happening on the freeways, some significant unusual congestion or other things, what can you do from here? How do you actually operate or respond to these changing conditions?
We have operators on the floor that either dispatch law enforcement, emergency personnel, maintenance forces if we need to go pick up the usual mattress or couch on the freeway.
I've seen those.
Yes. Seen a trailer the other day on the freeway with the axles out, you know, and we had to get law enforcement plus TxDOT forces out there to remove that so it removes that danger.
And I know we have all too often the fender bender or even more serious crash on the freeway system. What happens when you all see that here at TxDOT?
Well, if we see the fender bender, first thing we do is we put that into our system, which puts up what we call dynamic message signs. Those are big electronic boards, but people just love that. If one's out and it's not giving them the information, we hear about it. That's one of our other things about operations. We have to maintain all that equipment, and we're doing a very good job of that now. We're over 95%, which is excellent for that type of equipment. Travel times are another important thing that people have come to expect from day to day. Incident information, travel time information, construction information. We have major roadway closures. We post that information there. We also post that on our website so people could do pre-trip planning and make better decisions before setting out on their journeys.
Now, I have a GPS in my car. A lot of people have those on their cell phones. Sometimes I'll get a note on there that says there's been a collision or maybe even I should try an alternative route. Does some of that information start here at TxDOT?
Probably most of it starts here at TxDOT. There are other traffic services out there. They're using fleet information, but it's not as reliable as we are. First, we started out with tow tag information where we use those to monitor freeway speeds. Now we're going to a new technology, Bluetooth. Everybody has Bluetooth in their car, and it gives us enough information so we know how those vehicles are traveling out there. Basically, it's probe data, so we know when vehicle passes point A and passes point B and can calculate those travel times and speeds.
Now, you know, most people think that if they're in a fender bender, they get on the phone, they call and wait for a record to show up, but I understand that that's not exactly how it happens, at least inside the city of Houston. It's more proactive. It's more proactive, and if you are in a fender bender, think about your safety and the safety of others. You need to move it to the shoulder, which is safer than being out in a moving lane. Don't get out of your vehicle, because we have had some terrible accidents like that, where actually somebody was killed because they got out of their vehicle and got hit or was thrown over the bridge and stuff like that. So think about your safety and the safety of others, because you're also causing congestion out there where people have to stop unexpectedly and you cause secondary accidents. And that's why we're trying to put those message signs out there as soon as possible so people are aware of the situation. David, this is wonderful information, and it'll save a lot of crashes and maybe even someone's life. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, more about the Southwest Freeway congestion mitigation study and short-term improvements to the third most congested corridor in Texas.
They say that when you're facing extreme danger, your life flashes before you. If you think that's sad, Consider facing it before you even have enough life to flash before your eyes. Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Deaths and injuries can be prevented by using the right car seat. Visit safercar.gov/the-right-seat to know what is appropriate for each age and size.
Welcome back to Mobility Now. My guest, David Fink from the Texas Department of Transportation, and I are discussing the Southwest Freeway Congestion Mitigation Study. David, we were just talking about how we can operate the system better. One of the things you talked about was making sure that as drivers, we're getting information about things that are happening on the highway. But some things that we talk about in transportation as operational improvements involve construction, sometimes really expensive construction.
That is true.
One of the things that you all are working on is the interchange between US 59, the Southwest Freeway, and Loop 610, two of the busiest, most congested freeways in the state of Texas. Can you tell us a little bit about what you have planned?
Well, the plan is to reconfigure some of the interchanges, the ramps going from the Southwest Freeway to I-610 West Loop, again, one of the major thoroughfares in the Houston area. That'll change the configuration where you have a wider radius so you can have higher speeds. It's also going to push back where you get onto those ramps so you have less merging areas right now and weaving. They have just gotten through with some projects where they added additional lanes to eliminate those weaving. The other one is the old famous Chimney Rock exit just past this deal.
I'm familiar with that.
They're going to push that exit ramp inside of 610 for the southbound traffic so that we would eliminate some of that weaving coming from the West Loop and other areas on the Southwest Freeway. It's just a very busy intersection. You go, I think, 12 lanes across there sometimes.
That's right. Well, we've been looking at that in my shop as we've looked at how the traffic trying to cross the travel lanes, sometimes at the same time people are going the opposite direction. So when you're coming into the Loop 610 area on 59 and you want to take one of those early exits, you have to move to the right. At the same time, people coming off 610 are moving to the left. And that's what you're talking about when you say weaving.
That is correct. You know, is when somebody wants to go downtown and the other person traveling on the Southwest Freeway wants to go to the West Loop, and they have to cross over. And that creates lots of congestion around all major interchanges. Some of the other things we're looking at is eliminating ramps altogether, on ramps and off ramps. It may be a little inconvenience, but the benefit to the freeway and to the traveling public will be immense.
In other words, someone might have to travel a little further down the frontage road. They can still get where they're going, but because there would be fewer ramps, there would be less of the weaving activity we were talking about a moment ago.
And you may think it's an inconvenience, but it may actually improve your travel there because you have less weaving and can get there quicker. You may have to go through one more traffic light, which is another thing we probably will be working on, is working on traffic light signal timing so you have better movement on frontage roads. Something as simple as striping may be a key to it all. If we just restripe it and you eliminate some of that weaving by restriping, again, immense improvements in travel.
Now, I want to go back to your interchanges because those will be big projects that everybody traveling the Southwest Freeway will see. You're going to make these ramps, as you said, the curves will be easier, so hopefully we won't see trucks having an overturn on some of them, but also aren't you going to make them a little longer so that those merging locations can happen in a smoother way?
Yeah, we extend them back on the Southwest Freeway. If we're coming inbound, it'll be further to the south. On the West Loop, it's going to be further to the south also. You know, it's sort of confusing. We have two south areas there, but that's where we're in that transition point. It's just one of those things where you move that back and it's going to improve operations. Another thing, this is long range, is rebuilding the ramps over the Southwest Freeway on the West Loop. That's going to give you better clearances. We had 5 bridge hits this year alone, and what it was, most of those trucks were not supposed to take that route. They had permits, but they took instead of going southbound on the West Loop, they went northbound, and they struck the low bridge there. A typical bridge hit like that, even though there may not be damage to the bridge, has lasted 5 hours.
Oh, yeah.
That creates lots of, problems for us. We have to back that vehicle down. We have to get engineers out there to certify that the bridge is safe before we can open that up to traffic. And then all that traffic backing up, that takes another 30 minutes to an hour just to clear that out in most cases.
Yeah. David, another thing that I've noticed about the Southwest Freeway, and I'm sure everybody who drives it has seen the HOV lane in the center of the roadway. Why do we have set aside a special lane just for high occupancy vehicles? What are we trying to do with that?
Well, the goal there is to get more people to transition from the single occupant vehicle to buses would be ideal. But carpools also save space on the freeway. If we get everybody teaming up to 2 cars, that would cut your vehicles on the roadway by half. Just look at that tremendous savings. The other thing is they have went to something called congestion pricing or deal, where they price those trips on the HOV lane, and depending on the time of the day, that price can be as cheap as $1 per trip, or it could be as high as $6.50. But during very peak times, when our goal is to move as many people as possible and we want to have reliable bus trips in, they eliminate SOVs or single occupant vehicle traffic altogether from those roadways.
David, thank you so much for being on Mobility Now. And when we come back, more about the US 59 Interstate 69 congestion mitigation study and how you can participate in the future development of this important corridor.
Looking for these? You drive buzzed. It could be one very expensive ride.
First, you gotta make bail. Then pay me to get your car back.
Your insurance premiums will go through the roof.
And my legal fees just keep adding up. All told, it could end up costing you $10,000.
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Tens of thousands of commercial vehicles travel our roads each day, idling, crawling, accelerating, making the air we all breathe a little less breathable. If you manage a professional fleet, the Clean Vehicles program from the Houston-Galveston Area Council has funds available to upgrade you to cleaner technologies. From vehicle replacements and conversions to retrofits, funding options are available to help clean the air and update your fleets. Contact Clean Vehicles today, and we can all breathe a little easier.
Welcome back to Mobility Now. My guest is Dr. Tim Lomax, Principal Researcher at the Texas A&M Transportation Institute. Tim has pioneered our understanding of leading causes of traffic congestion and produces annually a national mobility report. Tim, welcome to Mobility Now.
Thanks very much, Alan. Pleasure
Tim,
to be here.
we're talking today about what we can do besides making every freeway bigger, every roadway wider, and the importance of operational strategies to maintaining a safe and efficient travel down our roadways. And you've looked at this for a long time. I know you have considered not only the impact in terms of just total extra minutes, but how people react to that. For example, tell us a little bit about how this has been looked at the state legislature, what they have done to try to stimulate investment and the use of operational strategies to make our freeways better.
Sure, I think it really comes down to quality of life and economic competitiveness. Really, you're thinking about congestion, not just in terms of extra travel time, but also if you're an employer, the number of employees that can get to your place in some reasonable commute time shrinks over the years as congestion grows. So you don't have access to the kind of talent pool you need, or you wind up having to move your office or your business closer to where people are to make that connection. So there's a lot of costs in addition to just extra travel time. And then when you come down to solutions, some of it is building roads, as you talked about, but a lot of it is operating the facility and getting people to think about their choices, getting their employers to think about the choices. It's really not just something you can dump on TxDOT or the city. It's really something that everybody plays a role in.
Well, it certainly affects everybody. And I know for me personally, sometimes it's the fact that I don't know how long it's going to take me to get where I'm going. I know it's going to be slow if I leave at 7:30 or 8:30 in the morning, but it's that uncertainty.
Right. I think one of the ways that we've started to understand this a lot better is with smartphones and websites and information that we get from the TransStar system. You get not just that average travel time, but how long it might take me today because I'm looking at the weather and I'm looking at a giant special event in town, or there's already a crash on my commute, and so now I should be looking for different travel routes. Maybe my phone could help me find where the closest metro park and ride lot is, so I can take the park and ride lot. I can look at my schedule. Maybe I'll call somebody who's my carpool partner every now and then. Maybe I call into the office and say, hey, I'm going to work from home for a couple hours until the freeway kind of clears out, and then I'm going to get on the road. If you have access to ideas like that, not only is your life less stressful, you become a more productive, more engaged employee.
Well, we're looking in the Southwest Freeway congestion study at all the kinds of things that cause our travel time to be not only so long, but so unreliable. And traffic crashes are one of those things. And although we see emergency responders come out and deal with those crashes, I know that's not an unplanned activity. In fact, it's something where you've looked at the ways in which we can make that even more effective.
Yeah, really, it's a combination of treatment, so having tow trucks very close nearby. That's a part of it, but that's not the whole thing. Making sure that the system understands what's going on. So looking from the TransStar system out at the incident, is there a different set of vehicles that we need to respond? Do we need an ambulance and a big fire truck, or do we just need a tow truck? Do we need to start messing around with the signals on the frontage road to get people that are trying to get around that crash, are now using the frontage road? Maybe we get them past the incident and move traffic that way. Maybe we for sure put messages up on incident, about the incident on the message signs and on the website and on smartphone apps. But maybe we also do work a lot more aggressively talking to the media about the problem. And then again, talking about the solutions. You know, can you telecommute that day, or for just a couple hours? Can you carpool? Can you ride a bus? Can you take a different route? There's some people that really just know one route to their office. And, you know, there's a lot of information out there, and you ought to know 2 or 3 or 4 different ways to get to where you're trying to go. If you think about Houston, most of the Houston corridor, Southwest Freeway is no different. There are a lot of streets that go across Southwest Freeway and that run parallel to that. None of those are completely deserted. It's not like everybody's on the freeway and nobody's on the street. Those are already pretty clogged. But if you have a significant crash or a very big stalled vehicle or a truck overturns or something happens, the system has a little more flexibility to react as long as people are kind of looking at what their options are, thinking about what routes they might take if the road ahead is blocked. Sometimes just sitting and waiting is okay, but if you've got an important trip to make, again, you need to know what your options are. You need to be able to figure out where to go, and TransStar and really the corridor traffic management systems can help you get around those and plan accordingly. And with all the HOV lanes and the park and ride service we have in Houston, you've got a lot of those options. People are starting to try those, that it's not just, oh, Texans are in love with their cars, they're never going to ride transit. Well, I think Texans are pretty rational people, and if you save them time, save them money, give them a good service, they're going to choose that. Maybe not every day, but if we had more people choosing the park and ride lots or riding the bus or the train 1 or 2 days a week, that's a significant reduction in the traffic volume that we're having to handle on the roads and freeways.
Well, you've measured the use of our HOV system over the years. I have the impression that we may need to think about where we're going with that system in the future, as it is pretty busy and sometimes even congested during peak periods?
Yeah, there are some ways to manage that system that you can change occupancy levels like we already do on a couple of the HOV lanes, but also what can we do in the middle of the day? Maybe the commute market isn't there, but there are still people who really need a reliable trip. I think that's what we're hearing from people is, yeah, we know it's going to be congested, but today I really need to make that trip on time. I need to get to the airport. I have an important meeting. My son's pitching in his first Little League game tonight, and I really got to get home. Maybe that's not a big driver of the economic productivity of town, but it's really important to you, and you want to find a way to make that trip on time. In too many corridors, what we have is you can not go, or you can go and sit in traffic congestion. Two options. If we give them, a carpool option, a bus option, a pay to make a really fast trip option, we've all of a sudden given them more control over their lives.
Well, you've mentioned something that I've heard talked about before, and that is using pricing as a way to encourage people to either use alternative modes like a carpool or a bus, or to give them a choice to pay more for a faster trip. And I know a lot of folks in my office have expensive child care workers, and if they are late, they have to pay quite a penalty. Are we looking at pricing enough? Should we be thinking about it more?
I think it's a part of almost every idea, every solution set that we look at. I think that's the appropriate place. It doesn't work everywhere, but there are some places, some locations where the public says, yeah, we want this option. We would like it to be, we would like the opportunity to be able to make a fast trip. What we look at around the country is hardly anybody chooses to do that all the time. If I'm leaving downtown Houston and the only thing I have on the end is a mower in August, I'm not going to pay extra to use that trip, but there might be other trips that I'd want to pay extra to make that trip.
Tim, a lot of us have heard about automated vehicles like the Google car. What might that mean for the future?
Initially, I think it's going to be much more safe travel. We're going to be able to avoid sideswipe collisions and rear-end collisions. Ultimately, it might be that we could have cars drive much closer to each other so that we get more productivity out of the system.
Tim, thank you for being here. We really appreciate your insight into traffic operations.
Sure.
That's all the time we have today. I'd like to thank my guests, David Fink from TxDOT and Dr. Tim Lomax from the Texas A&M Transportation Institute, for participating in this show. I'm Alan Clark, H-GAC's Director of Transportation. Thank you for watching Mobility Now.